Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make my fantastic peach tart tatin, a wonderful treat for summer entertaining. And special thanks to Jus-Rol for sponsoring and collaborating with me on this video. This is actually the same puff pastry product that I worked with a few years ago in my holiday pastry video. You may remember that. It used to be called Wiwaka, but they have rebranded for the United States and they are now known as Jus-Rol. It is definitely worth seeking out. This is one of my favorite puff pastry brands because it's so easy to use. It comes as one continuous sheet, and I find it puffs up the best and creates the most flaky, delicious texture. So you can click my link in the description to find out where you can get it near you. But one little tip though, be sure to look in the dairy case at your store. That's where it's actually sold, not in the freezer section. All right, let me show you how to make this fantastic summer recipe. Now, Tarte Tatin is a French dessert that's traditionally made with apples, but in the summertime, I find that it works really well with stone fruit too. And for me, I love to use peaches. And basically the technique is we're gonna make a caramel sauce, put our peaches in a skillet, and then once they become nice and caramelized and gooey, we are going to pop the puff pastry on top, place it in the oven, and once it's baked, then we are going to allow it to cool slightly, flip it over, and that's how the tart is created. So you want to use a 10-inch non-stick skillet. That is the perfect size for this size of puff pastry. So we just need a nice circle. So you can line it up and then give it a trim. And I also think it's good to give it at least a 1/2 inch border or so, just to make sure you have a little bit of an edge that will actually serve as the crust once this tart is baked. There we go. Okay, one of the things that I really love about this brand of puff pastry is that it comes with its own parchment paper that you can actually bake on. So today we're not going to need that, but it actually is going to come in handy when we go to store our puff pastry, because once we cut it, we do want to put it in the fridge so that it keeps chilled. This style of puff pastry you don't want to put in the freezer. And the parchment paper also alleviates the need for having to use flour or roll it out. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge until we're ready to use. So this recipe will take between 2 and 3 peaches, depending upon how small or big your peaches are. You don't want a peach that's too ripe, because when we go to put them in the skillet, you don't want them to completely fall apart. But they shouldn't be too firm either, because they'll be hard to cut. And I actually leave the skin on. Not only is it easier, but it also contributes to the sort of sticky gooiness that you're gonna get with this tart, because there's a lot of pectin in the skin. Then you wanna slice them cut side down about 1/4 inch thick. And try to keep their placement, because we are going to put these in the skillet almost in like an escargot pattern, and it's easier when they all sort of line up. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about, but just keep them sliced together in their little families. And then if you're having trouble removing the pit, I find a melon baller is really great for that, and you can just kind of melon ball it out, just like that. Okay, watch how easy this is. I've got my skillet heating up here. To that, we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And then once our butter starts to melt, we can then add the brown sugar. So I'm using 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. So we have equal parts butter to sugar. There, then once it's nice and melted, you can add a teaspoon of apricot jelly or preserves, either one, there. And this is just gonna create a really delicious tartness, which will create a wonderful flavor combination against the sweetness of the caramel sauce. And once it starts to bubble like this, you can turn it down to a medium-low flame, because we don't wanna scorch this beautiful caramel that we're making. Now it is time for our family of peaches. So using one at a time, we're gonna do a little escargot pattern, just fanning out, just so they touch. You want it to be snug, but you don't want them to overlap. Because it'll just be easier to turn out the tart if they each have their own little piece of gravity in the pan. There we go. And then if any of the caramel starts to kind of wick up into the pan, just push it down. This will help when we go to put our puff pastry on, that it doesn't really like stick too much to the pan. So we're just gonna let this hang out here for at least 5 minutes, maybe up the heat just a little bit. That's handy to have a fork if any of your peaches start to kind of get out of line. I need to push them back. There, and it also helps to test to see if they're getting tender. Then you can turn off your heat and allow the pan to cool down slightly. It'll also prevent all of the steam from coming up, which will make it easier when we go to put the puff pastry on. Okay, then we are just going to peel our puff pastry off of our parchment paper, just like so. I think it helps to loosen all the sides and then place it on. Okay, you can just line it up, put the top on, and then you want to fold it under just a little bit. This is actually going to become the crust once we flip it out. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, this is the nature of this dessert is that it's lovely and rustic. But tucking it under is just gonna help seal the caramel from seeping out too much when it bakes, and then you can kind of press it against your pan there, like that. And then the only other thing you want to do is just create 2 little slits on top. And this will help the steam escape and allow our fruit to caramelize and not get too steamy and soggy under the puff pastry. So this is going in at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. You want the top to be really nice and golden brown, almost more so than you would think, because that's going to also be our crispy bottom. So you don't want to take it out when it's just starting to turn golden brown. You want a really nice golden color on it, all right, and puffed up. Now, while our tart is in the oven, we can make some homemade whipped cream. I think there is nothing better than a little dollop of homemade whipped cream on a beautiful fruit dessert in the summertime. We are going to be using 2 cups of chilled heavy whipping cream, and then you also want to add 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And then anytime I'm making a special dessert and I want to take a little bit extra time and care, I use vanilla bean as opposed to the extract. If you only have the extract on hand, totally fine. I would just use a teaspoon of vanilla extract. But if you did want to spend a little extra money on the vanilla bean, it will up your whipped cream game just up a notch. I don't do it every time, just when I have something special like a tart. There, that's all we have to do. And you just want to take it to soft peaks. You don't want to take it to stiff peaks. I think that's the beauty of this whipped cream with this dessert, is that it's really just a soft dollop. Okay, our tart is just out of the oven, and you can probably see from the close-up just the steam that's coming out of it, and that is really thanks to our little slit. So imagine all that steam would be trapped inside. So you do want to make sure you put your slit on. And also remember that your handle is hot, so don't go and move it without, some protective covering there. So before we flip it over, we do want to let this sit for at least 5 minutes or so, just to set up a little bit, because the hotter it is, the more slippery the fruit is, and you don't want them falling all over the place. All right, let's give it a try. So you do want to just take a knife, a little paring knife, and loosen the pastry just all the way around, because remember, we have all of that caramel underneath, and it does like to get sticky under there. Here we go. I'm going to put my platter on top. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, flip. All right, and then before you reveal it, give it a little shake too. That also helps to release it. There, okay, as warned, some of the fruit did stick to the bottom, but here's how we're going to fix it. This is the perfect opportunity to show you. So first off, fix any ones that have slid on the tart, and this is the perfect time to do it when the tart is still warm, because now that it's still warm, this fruit is still pliable. If you wait too long, it'll start to stick there, and like glue, it'll be hard to move. So there we go. What I love about this idea is it's a really easy way to make something look and taste amazing, but it's actually super simple to put together. And you will love the flavor combination of those delicious sweet peaches, the tartness of the apricot jam, and of course, that flaky puff pastry. I hope you guys give this one a try and let me know what you think. And special thanks to Jus-Rol for sponsoring and collaborating with me on this video. And for more information on where you can find the Jus-Rol puff pastry, as well as all of their other refrigerated doughs, click the link in my description and you can use their store locator. All right, you guys, I'll see you back here next time. Until then, bye.